to trade them immediately.
Well, I think this would take us, because you've just brought up Device, into the last little topic here as far as Blast goes. Because, look, we saw from EG, they look pretty good. We saw from Fury with Honda, he got some aces. That was pretty sick, actually. We might sink some time into that in the future, discussing just those aces in the context of a rookie and all that. Who else did we see? Complexity, we don't even need to talk about them. It's a sinking ship. We'll get stuck
I
into...
think it's an unlucky situation for them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I especially feel bad for JKS. Actually,
people are lighting him up pretty hardcore right now. He's copping it. I hope he stays strong. I don't even know what to say to him anymore. I just kind of leave him over there now. I'm like, Justin, it'll be all right. But well, who else did we see? That's 3 teams. Who am I missing here? Obviously we had Liquid get top. Okay, yeah, that's about it. So let's look at the top 3, because that's what we were discussing, right? Is the fact that Astralis, Vitality, and NAVI are the big boys, right? We know that it kind of Astralis and Vitality were on that extra level. NAVI, we weren't too sure. Has NAVI done enough right now, Striker, in your mind, to be put up on that pedestal with? Oh, I forgot G2 up on that pedestal with the other 2 names now, like to be considered constantly as a contender for events, or you still want to see more? Are we still on that point? We still need to see more.
I mean, to be fair, they were always kind of like a contender, they just lacked that, like, the next level, where they just destroy everybody as they did, like in Katowice or like at this event, I guess, at least for the majority of it. So it's like they've always been up there. It's like they were like one of the most consistent teams of last year, even though they had this like up and down nature, which is just kind of, yeah, I guess that's ironic, but that's just how it was, right? They got a lot of top 4 finishes last year. Like they just didn't have enough of the finals or whatever for people to have them in their minds as this like elite level team, that's going to be the conversation for titles all the time. And that's kind of how I see Navi for a long time, actually. Like I feel like that's kind of been their identity forever, almost, in Counter-Strike, where they're always like a top 4 team winning, like, every now and again they'll just hit this level where they win, but they're just never going to do it consistently like all year long, and I feel like that's just never changed. And I'm not sure that we've seen anything this tournament that is making me feel like that's going to change. So yeah, it's just same old Navi, I feel like.
All right. Well, what about Astralis and Vitality, Prof? Because we've spoken a lot about Navi here. Do we think that obviously Astralis made it to the final, Vitality made it to the semi-final, the loser bracket final? Do we think here that the 3 teams that we're talking about are all going to have legs to them this year and maintain that level above everybody else? Do we see weaknesses? Do we think the likes of Liquid can get there? Heroic's still going to be in the mix, or do you think it's quite clear?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like these 3 teams are going to continue being the top teams. I think Astralis looked pretty good overall. Of course, in the grand final, Navi was just better, but it's not like Astralis looked like trash. They just got destroyed, lost the first map kind of close, and then the second map they were never in it, right? But it's not like you saw some glaring mistakes or some one player being like off pace or something like that. I think their like Boobski thing with Nuke, this doesn't really help overall. I think their win rate on Nuke is still about like 50%. They lost their last 3, some of them pretty one-sided losses. So that seems kind of meh. But otherwise, they look pretty good. Vitality, same as last year, more or less. Maybe not completely. They do have some hiccups here and there, and some rounds where
a lot of clutches.
Yeah, ZU needs to clutch these 1v4s and 1v3s and stuff like that. But similar to last year, I think they're still the strongest teams. Of course, especially if we continue online, we'll have the heroics, we'll have Big, we'll have some team to make a crazy run here and there. That's going to happen surely. But overall, if you look like the whole year, I think they're going to be the main teams.
All right.
I mean, don't we all kind of see like Astralis going back on the 6th map? I mean, maybe not necessarily entirely, but at least on the Nuke experiment, because I feel like it hasn't really been working out for them. Even looking at how Bubsky has been playing, he hasn't really had any, like, he had one good game. I think I was looking at his stats from the Nuke games that he played. I think he had 1 good games out of like 7 Nukes that he played in the since December, right? Early December, that he first started playing Nuke only for the team. So I feel like eventually Astralis will realize that it's not really doing anything, and they're probably just going to bring back Zipex just because they're going to play with him every other time, right? So I'm not sure if this is maybe this was Zipex's call, right? Maybe he doesn't just doesn't really feel comfortable playing Nuke anymore for whatever reason. I guess that's possible, but I just see like in the near future them bringing back Zipex for Nuke as well, and then just playing 5-man the entire time.
Hey, anything's possible. Russell, we're going to get the quick one here from you and then ask you some questions and then close this thing down, mate. So I want you, the top 3 that we just listed, do you think anybody will be in touching distance with them to compete on a regular basis? Obviously, Prof mentioned like Heroic and the Bigs. They might have these little peaks. But do you think there's anybody else that you've seen? Obviously, not a lot of Counter-Strike's being played. And let's say you can't say Liquid, but you can say FaZe, who might be able to
All right, dude.
be able to compete with those 3.
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Online CS is so random, and that's all 2020 has really shown us, that there's no consistent number 1.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of teams that can stay up to par. I mean, Heroic has always won the challenge. I mean, they won important events like throughout the year, and I think they're always going to be around that area. Melsports, I think even if they do go ahead with the changes, they're going to remain in that position to be a top 5 team. And same goes for Liquid or any team that undergoes like a good roster change that's positive. And yeah, I mean, online CS is super random. You can't, it's not like Astralis won like every event. It's not like NAVI won every event. Same goes for Vitality. I mean, for part of the year, I thought G2 was the best team for sure.
Yeah.
But then like Big was just like rolling them at every chance. And it's just, I don't know, there's no like era. And it's hard to like build storylines right now.
Do you like it better this way, or do you prefer it like when it was like obviously you and Astralis the most dominant?
I feel like I'm very biased when it comes to answering this question. Nah, I'm kidding. I think LAN builds a lot of consistency though.
Yeah.
And you're playing on stage and stuff. There's more at stake. There's more nerves going around. People go back to this fucking Coke Zero me and people just drinking Coke at home, chilling, banging heads. Nah, it's not the same when it comes to like events and on LAN stuff. Teams play very different. There's so much more. Even it comes down to like small things like audio cues. You can't hear everything because there's so much like stage. There's a lot of noise going on, or maybe you lose focus. So like more things get past you, or say like there's people that feed off of like adrenaline and energy, and they perform when the pressure's on. And online, you don't get that, and it's hard to give like a constant number 1, like a team that's like really good. And I would just go ahead and say Astralis, even though they lost. Because even though they're a 6-man roster, they show the most consistency.
Sure. This is perfect. We're just don't worry about playing the bumper leagues. We're just gonna transition to asking you questions now.